Hello, myself Sunil Ramakrishna. Here basically we are discussing the topic that is if condition, while loop, for loop basically, which is basically connected with the power supply basically. So one of the person told that assume that basically we will take one example. The example is like this. One person told that he was transferring money to one person basically or one bank basically. Assume that basically. In that basically there was one for loop and a while loop basically and one if loop. And assume that basically that is written in one procedure basically. That is written in one procedure basically. And that procedure basically is called by Oracle basically. Means Oracle basically is from Oracle basically all the business logics are written assume that basically. So here basically calling basically is part from assume that basically Java or .NET basically assume. So one person basically told that the amount basically that we will tell at last basically. So here what happened, that amount basically assume that basically it is coming from the sorry, it's one shopping websites. In that basically somebody is doing the shopping, that time basically he paid the amount. When he paid the amount basically it went to the PayPal account, and PayPal basically was connected with some bank basically. So assume that basically it connected to that bank basically, but here somebody what has done, called one procedure basically. That procedure was actually the hijacking procedure. Here basically we have cleared that basically, that power group basically, that is the power area basically, power data basically can't hijack the data. That is 100% sure. So here basically we are taking the example that one person basically hijacked the code basically, and in coding basically one code was written that basically 3 to 4 lines basically was truncated from the coding basically. When the person basically was paying the money, that time basically the coding was truncated. That was basically we can say. So he basically called one function basically when that exactly the time basically the money was going to be deducted from one account to another account, it was going to credit it. That time he called. So that 3 to 4 line basically not was, that was not basically executed basically due to hijacking basically. And if basically somebody have the data of directly basically from power supply basically he can hijack the coding, then that is very dangerous stuff basically. But this type of activity very rare people basically can do, because if you have to first you should know now basically that this type of thing is also there basically. If condition is basically is activating, if the thousand city basically is giving the power supply, if thousand city is not giving the power supply, then the if condition will not work. Same way for loop, while loop. So you should know this. Then only basically you can do the hijacking. And to understand this only basically how it's very difficult, because it's a thousand cities. How you are going to check that which condition is connected with which area basically. For example, if condition you have written and one person told that this condition is connected with that city in that area in that building and that room basically. How you are going to connect up to that level basically? That is not possible here basically. That only basically very highly talented hijacker only basically can do that. Also basically I think in this world basically I think 20-25 people might be there basically. 20-25 people only basically, and mostly basically they might be at satellites area basically, connected with the satellites group basically. But they basically do, you do think basically they might be do. But here the question is the amount basically which PayPal basically was transferring, that data was hijacked. In that what happened? The World Bank basically was supposed to get the log. In that code was written that World Bank will get the log file basically, that this many amount was credited. But that basically was not given to the World Bank. So log was not generated for the World Bank, but the amount was credited to the another bank basically. So here what happened? Here actually what happened? The mismatch basically happened, and the World Bank tracked that, and this amount was not logged basically, and they were checking everything through log only basically. So they told that yeah, basically the amount is mismatching. That also basically 1 lakh crore amount was there. In the meantime, basically what happened? One another city basically got created in Iceland, and in that Iceland, the new product basically was launched in the market basically. So they were shocked. World Bank basically was shocked how the world basically created and one city created and how basically we don't know basically. So he told that yeah, that is not possible. Yeah, basically how basically it is this is possible. So they basically checked which was that product, and that product basically was totally different, which was not created by World Bank, because in this world basically whatever World Bank whatever banks exist, they all basically are connected with World Bank, and they only can collect the investment data which is created in the form of products by the World Bank. So that is one thing basically. So this is, but there basically the World Bank basically got new product and which they have not created. So that time basically they tracked that basically this was that city which was created and the money was 1 lakh crore basically which was invested, and in that basically they don't know. So they basically tracked like this basically that this was that bank, and they tracked that also basically this was the IP address from where the hijack basically happened. So in this basically they got the information that somebody was creating another World Bank basically. So like this they track the information basically. So one of the person told that another World Bank also basically can be created, and mostly basically this type of bank, if one stock exchange basically can create daily one bank basically, then World Bank basically also might be there basically, because World Bank also basically might not be knowing that daily one bank is getting created. I am 100% sure basically World Bank might not be knowing that daily one bank is getting created. So one person told that this is actually when it was tracked. When the audit of the World Bank basically was ongoing, that time basically it was tracked. One person told that also basically. Currently basically SBI is ruling the India basically, right? But SBI is ruling, that is okay. But the ruling group basically, who is that basically? That is not the employee of the entire employee is sorry, entire employee are not of the SBI. They are of the different banks basically. Certain basically experts are selected here, and they basically rules the SBI, and they are connected with the RBI, because RBI basically if they ask the question basically which type of answer basically. But here the question is the power group basically which are giving the power to if condition while condition